Hello, everybody. Oh gosh, this is Heather. This is not generative AI, by the way. It is me, like in the flesh. Do you feel me on that? I'm telling you, I'm being me and being a human with all the flaws. I'm totally okay with that. So I'm here to talk to you today for those who are there now, and those who are listening now, and those who might listen to this or watch this later. I'll be sharing with you some information about my new certified art of active listening facilitator program. And it's based upon my book, the latest book, The Art of Active Listening. And so, one thing I want to say for those who might join now, and I'll say this a couple other times, if you are in the audience now and you like to ask questions, please do, and let me know if you're there. So in the comments, just say, hey, Heather, and tell me where you're coming in from. I may not actually say something right away to you because I'm going to be taking questions and recognizing everybody closer to the end of this talk. But please do put those questions in the comments in the chat, making sure I will then get to them in the end, I promise. So I'm talking about the Certified Art of Active Listening Facilitator Program. And for those who have been following me for any period of time, you may or may not know my story. And I wanted to be able to come here and talk to you about my why for even getting there. There are a lot of certification programs out there. There are a lot of different tools that we get in our own toolkit, and we all get to choose which those are and how we use them. And if you actually, in fact, ever do, I've gotten a couple certification programs, and one of them I don't use, and one of them I have used a lot. That's DISC, being a DISC certified person, where I can do coaching and things like that. This certification program is different. The one that I'm going to introduce you is different. And it is because it is about a movement to help those at work and, to be honest, just in our communities, be seen, be heard, be valued. And so I'm going to talk to you directly, share a little background, and then I'll share some slides of just walking you through some of the logistics and the details. But for those who are just listening and can't see, that's okay. You can either check it out on my YouTube channel later or just listen in. There's plenty for you to hear right here. So, how did I start down this journey of thinking about a certification program? Well, I didn't start here. To be honest, the journey led me to this place. So, for many of you who maybe have already heard this story, maybe not, well, I started down this road of thinking about how important it was first to listen to people at work. When I was in an organization, I was working for an organization, and there was a merger of 5 companies. And during the time when the merger was happening, a lot of people kept coming to me, even though they didn't report to me, but I kind of had already been a voice of support and appreciation for them over the years. And so they came to me and asked, what's going on? Our managers aren't talking to us. There's not a lot of communication. What is happening? And I said, well, I know some and some I don't know, but there was a lot of fear and mistrust. And I could see in people's faces that they would wonder, am I going to get laid off? Why aren't these people talking to me? I'm fearful that my manager doesn't care about me, that HR sees me as a number. And these were a lot of the emotions that were going on. And so in the middle of that, I found myself stuck too. And I could feel myself just being dragged down by all of that and more. And I was just getting negative in my own mind. And I said, I got to go do something. I have to do something. I have to be the change I'm seeking, or else I am going to just basically drown in all of it. So I go to the head of HR and I say, we really need to do something about our mistrust, something about this culture. And she says, you're right. You should go do something about that. And I was like, wait, what? Why is it me? But it made sense because I'd already acted like that cultural ambassador up to that point. So I decided to take her up on the offer, and I created this employee engagement council, bringing people around the table to see how we could start to break down the walls of mistrust. And I could see that they were hungry for it. And I could see they wanted to own it. And I said, gosh, this is amazing. But why didn't some of the other people who were in charge, who could make the decisions, who could change the experience, why weren't they really expressing it in very clear ways? And so then through the merger, there was a layoff. And inside of all of it, I realized that I could potentially be one of them. And I was laid off as the first kind of 100 and something people that were laid off. And I realized during that process that somebody had to be the voice for others. Somebody had to let what the needs of customers and employees were in the current state be communicated to those who were kind of in power, who could do something about that situation. So I decided that was going to be me. So I created a company and helping organizations create kind of like that connection between customer and employee and organization and feeling like they could get some of their power back, that their voices could be heard inside of there. So that kind of ended. I decided then I wrote my first book on the 7 intuitive laws of employee loyalty. And that was based upon that and trying to help organizations understand what they needed to do to retain and get more loyalty from their employees. And so then some years go by and uh, I'm deciding like, do I want to, I think I want to do a podcast. I think now I've written this book, I write a lot of blogs, I speak, like, I think now it's time for me to do this podcast. And I remember meeting Neil, who is the producer of my show. And I remember he said to me, well, what do you think the title might be? And I told him what the title and the topic would be. And he said, you sure you don't want to take some time to think about it? Why don't you just like take some time to think about that and then come back to me later? And I'm like, no, I don't think I need to think about it. I think the title, Leadership with Heart, is exactly what my show needs to be about. And that is because that is what I value most. And I try my hardest to be that person every day. I don't always make the mark. I miss the mark too. But I said, let me just do this. I think we need to have more leaders and just people at work hear this stuff. So started to interview people, interview these amazing leaders, and I was getting all these like aha moments myself. I felt like I was getting so much education in the process. And I get to the point where uh, I think it was like episode 20, let's say. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good that I gotta tell other people. Like other people need to see this. People need to hear this so that they can learn and they can become better leaders, just like the people I'm talking to. And so at that point, I decided to create that next book, the second book called The Art of Caring Leadership. And after I wrote that book, I was all a combination of the people on the podcast and all the great learnings and taking what I knew that most people thought of as this nebulous, squishy, soft concept of care and really putting more guardrails on it, putting some meat on the bones of what that meant. And so that's what led me to say, here's the book. And as I wrote the book, one of the behaviors in that book is the creating a culture of listening. And that culture of listening pillar out of the 9 behaviors, that actually was kind of the whole crux of the work that I do at Employee Fanatics, that firm I created shortly thereafter that layoff. And it made me realize after I'd written that and after I'd heard different feedback from people, people loved and they were really attracted to that model that's already inside of there. That cycle of active listening is what I call it. And I knew I had to do more than just write the book, have that there. I felt like I needed to go deeper. And so each time it drove me to say, I want to go deeper into listening. I want to let people understand what this 5-part framework means, what the steps mean to them, what it can look like for their relationships at work, their relationships at home, in their community, so that people around them do finally feel heard, valued, and understood. And I knew it because I saw it in my own life. I saw it working in workplaces where people would say to me, I feel like you listen to me. I feel like you respond to my needs. I feel like you care about me. So I just kept saying, how do I codify this? How do I get this in front of more people so that they can then also try to, like I try to, live out better ways of listening, live out better ways of care. And so voila, the art of active listening was born. And in that one, it doesn't have as much of like an interview format with people from the podcast, although there are some voices that do show up in there. It's mostly me diving deep into kind of real life examples, either my own or others that people have told me about. And then some other people I just interviewed to say, how do we make this a simple read, a read that explores possibilities through storytelling, that asks good questions, and that really leaves people with a framework and a step-by-step approach to listening well. Because that's really the key, is how do we listen well? Not fake listen, not pretend listen, not listening to respond, but really learning to give our full presence and really understanding the value in all of that. It's huge. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up the actual presentation. I'm going to take you to the first slide so you can see what the actual cycle of active listening looks like. So for those who have not read the book, but you're interested in this thing I'm talking about with active listening and this new kind of movement around how do we make sure that the world, workplaces, people in and outside of them are actually listening to people in a more effective way, one that leaves people really feeling seen and heard and valued in their own skin. So this cycle, it's kind of hard to see the little words. In fact, maybe I'll see if I can put me smaller. There you go. And it's a little bigger, but that first step on the top, it just says cycle. So the cycle does not stop. And it's recognizing the unsaid. And really quickly, what this means is that oftentimes we don't pause enough to actually see what's right in front of us, the symbols, the signs, the cues of what's happening around us. So we can't respond appropriately. In fact, we can't own change. We can't own real good seeking unless we recognize those things. And so recognizing the unsaid is the first step. And often that happens just us being aware of what's happening in our environment and then having the courage to speak up or the courage to help others understand it. Seeking to understand is really what we mostly think of as listening. It is that truly leaning in, being present for those around us is what makes all the difference. And most of us don't know how to do this in a great way. That's why I try to put this framework together and give the steps on what it is that you need to do in order to do it well. And then there's the decoding phase. And decoding is the step before we act. So usually we want to listen and we want to respond. We want to seek and then we want to do. And what decoding says is, wait a second, pause, stop, wait just a minute, and let's see what we can discover. What can we uncover by taking our time? What can we uncover by talking to our team? What can we uncover by making sure that we do research or talking to the client again to make sure that maybe something is maybe it's different than what we thought. I was at an event last week speaking to a group, and a gentleman came up to me after and said, you know what, I have this issue that happened, and it happened yesterday. And after I heard you talk, I realized that I kind of messed up. And I know you told me not to smack myself around, but to think about how I can do better. And so now tomorrow, this client who I just made an assumption of the things that they needed, now I'm going to go back to that client. I'm going to apologize and close the loop with them, but apologize that I made the assumption that I didn't ask all the right questions to start with. And then I'm going to, again, close the loop with them, let them know what I'm going to do about it and how I can help them. But it was so amazing to see it in action as I walked through the steps with these people, how then he came after, multiple people did, but this one gentleman said, here's the exact thing I'm going to do tomorrow morning because I realized I just dropped the ball. And that's what's so great about this cycle all the way around, is that there are some steps you can always go back to. Let's say you recognize something's not right. You seek to understand with them and you take time to decode maybe most of us don't do that, but maybe you do. And then let's say you even take action. And then you're like, okay, that was like 3 months ago. You realize that you never close a loop with the person who requested something from you, who gave you feedback. And you go back and you do that by closing the loop with them. And that is what the cycle of active listening is about. And that is how you can put it to work for you. And so when I talk about this next step in my journey, as I walked through the idea of like, how did I get to the point where I wanted to do a certification program? How did I want to be able to make sure I got this word out about it? It boils down to the simplicity of the model and the need to really evangelize and expand the message in a much bigger, broader way around the world. I am one person. My team is a small team. We can't do it by ourselves. I do know, though, because a lot of people, this resonates with a lot of people, and they have commented and they've been following this and they've been just really agreeing with things. And I said, oh, there's so many people who share the same view of wanting to change the world by making sure people are seen and heard, that they're valued and they're appreciated and they feel important. That was a light bulb for me. How many more people would like to join me on this journey? And that's really how this journey of thinking through how do we want to make sure that the certification program is successful. So I wanted to include more people. That's kind of my MO, include more people. So the Certified Active Listening Facilitator program was born out of that journey. And again, if you're just joining now, this will be on LinkedIn. This will be on my podcast. This will be in different places. But I wanted to be sure that you can go back if you want to. And at the same time, I can get all of the facts out for those who are listening, for those who will be listening, that kind of thing. Okay. And again, for those who are just joining, I will make sure that if there's any questions you have, you can put that in the comments, and then I will answer those in the end of me going through these steps. Okay. So you can do that. And of course, let me know. I see you, Shannon, but who else is there? Because I would love to see who else is there and where are you joining in from? And also, did you read the Art of Active Listening book? That's a big one too. You don't have to have done that because that'll be something that you do through this program, but it's kind of interesting for me to know if you did. So as we look through this certified active listening facilitator program, what I want it really to be doing and what I want to focus on is to help transform the culture from the inside out without the people who are in here, without feeling alone. Because what happens is those change makers, if you know who you are, that you're inside of organizations or you are even catalysts outside of organizations, and you sometimes are feeling like you're in an echo chamber, like there's just no one around to support you, or you're like a lone ranger, the only person out there. And I know how you feel because I remember doing that and often feeling like I had five heads when I was sitting in a meeting talking about what people needed, talking about that we needed to bring more people in and bring them around the table and include them in to buy in the decisions we were making. And people be looking at me like, are you from another planet? So I totally get that. And if you're with me on this, know that I'm talking to you. Okay. Whether you are joining me from any of the mediums by which I'm streaming this, I want you to know that you're not alone. I'm with you. I felt the same way, and often I still do, wondering if people actually understand where I'm coming from and how I really would deeply want to help to affect and impact the world in a positive way. So, who is this certification for? Who is this program for? Well, I would say number one, overarchingly, it is for big-hearted people, leaders in particular in different areas. So we have HR leaders who want to shape that employee experience and really how do you bring better retention numbers, more engagement numbers. Sales leaders who are looking to build effective teams and they want more cohesion, they want loyalty, and they also want teams that are hitting goals. The prospects that you're working with, will they feel the difference? Will they feel heard? Will they feel that you value them not as a number on a spreadsheet, not as a goal to be attained, but as humans who have a need that you are particularly in the position to solve? Development leaders. This is just anybody inside of organizations that are maybe in leadership development or in organizational development where they know they want the organization to grow. They want leaders to improve. And so if you want them to do that, this idea of helping them listen more effectively, walking them through the framework, being expert in being able to do that and train your entire organization in leading with that new cadence, brilliant. You're also in there. Operations and customer service leads. It doesn't matter where you are in the organization. You can be the catalyst. When I decided to make these different moves, I was at the director level of my organization. I've been at an executive level before. And at every level, I was the one who, again, looked like I had five heads because I was advocating for these type of practices. Why aren't we following up? Why aren't we taking action? Why didn't we communicate what action we took? I was always in that position. And I know you're out there, that you're with me. You always feel like you're advocating, you're the catalyst. Sometimes you don't have the right framework, the right tools to help you get there. And that's what this certification is for. So when we're looking at customers, it's, are customers feeling like you hear them? Are they feeling like when they lodge a complaint, when they tell you a concern, that you are truly leaning in, not to like look at your watch, not to just respond to say that, no, you're not in the wrong, but to get to the truth of what their issue is, to solve it specifically for them. Because when you do that, they pay you back with years more of loyalty. That also translates into more share, more of their wallet, right? And so there's so many positive outcomes when people on the other end of our relationships feel like we are giving them our undivided attention. And how do you do that? Well, we do that through the cycle of active listening. And then just any other leader, no matter what title, no matter what position, even if you don't have a title, somebody you think yourself as, you have influence, people listen to you. You are the perfect person to be a catalyst for this work. And I would love to have you. And then the issue here, or the thing that you really gain personally, well, there's a couple things here. One of the things is you become a more valued leader because you champion change and you show that you are caring. Because think about how much at work right now that people people don't feel cared for. And as we think about where we are with hybrid, when we really aren't with each other as much, if our leaders at work, if the people at work haven't done a good job of continuing the connection, continuing the appreciation, all of the things that maybe they did well, maybe they didn't when they're in person. Now, this is going to set you apart. It allows you to show more care. It allows you to help the organization or your clients be those type of organizations. So you expand your knowledge base, you develop new leadership skills, and at the same time, you're transforming your organization or the organizations you work with. For example, with me, I'm a consultant and a trainer and speaker. And so there's many organizations I'm working with. And so I get to talk about this stuff in all those different environments. And those who are certified facilitators will also get to do the same thing. And a good thing is that if you are certified, you get to take it in any industry to any job. I have heard from other people that are in learning development that they cannot stand when there's an organization certification and then they're training on it and they're evangelizing. And then when they leave, they don't get any credit. They don't take any of the certification with them. I knew I had to do something different. I want this to go with you individually, because if I am saying I want you to be able to change organizations from the inside out, and or if you have clients or whatever that you're working with outside for the inside, either way it goes, I want you to be able to own the changes you're looking for. And you can own it if you're able to take this everywhere you go. You can actually, I'm thinking about the footprints that are happening, right? The footprints that you take along your journey. And we are all on different journeys. And if you're able to take the certification, the knowledges, the workshop, the framework, the coaching that you'll learn through this with you, now your impact goes way past the current employer, way past your current client that you have, and then let you go further and expand and again, touch more. And the other thing I want to say here is that this is also not just for those in the US. This is going to be global. So I am looking for you to tell all your friends, and you do it too, because in the end, the more workplaces that get this, the more folks that decide to be catalysts for better listening. Can you imagine the wave of care, the wave of concern that we can all create when we kind of huddle up together under this mission? So if you are SHRM certified, we will serve as a SHRM recertification provider, because a part of this certification program, and the facilitator program, actually has you taking some courses that I already have under the recertification program. And so you will get 7 PDCs if you are someone who already has that SHRM certification. It'll allow you to also get certification just by going through mine, which is kind of cool. Get like a double whammy when you go through the Certified Art of Active Listening facilitator program, and you're also trying to do recertification. So what are some of the benefits that you get? How do we support you? I knew from the beginning, because I have certifications where I went through the program and then there was like no support afterward. There was no connection between me and the organization that certified me. And with a couple of those, that was totally fine. But I knew that my network would really appreciate to have more support, more ongoing ways to not just connect with me, but connect with other people that are doing very similar work in different organizations around the world, so that you can do best practices. So the first way we start is doing an immersive Train the Trainer mastermind event. And that is led by me. The first cohort, which we are super almost full, we got just a couple more spaces left, will happen the end of September. And that will be a couple-day event. And then there'll be some on-demand courses, and there'll be a live virtual session with me. There'll be a test for you to take. And then after that, you become certified. That ongoing support then ends up being, more counsel by me, of course, but a quarterly webinar with Q&A and hot seat topics that other facilitators will also be able to be a part of, can answer questions. So we're all coming together. And again, those who are actively practicing this can be working together to figure out, how do you overcome certain barriers? For example, if you're inside an organization, I'm having a hard time, for example, getting buy-in, or these people seem to like it, and these people, we need to address this or do this. Then you get to talk in those groups of people, the cohorts together, the quarterly webinars that we do, to make sure that you're able to get questions answered and do things together. And then we will be providing a lot of supporting materials. So we are going to be working on in Q1 a listening assessment that's team focused, so that you'll be able to utilize that for teams inside your organization, or if you have clients and you're a coach, trainer, or a consultant yourself, you can utilize those assessments just like you would any other assessment you might have, to really be able to diagnose, or kind of like be prescriptive on what it is that needs to happen within the team or the organization. And then we will provide workshop slides for you to be able to conduct your workshops. The facilitator guide just gives you tips on exactly what to do. And then once that listening assessment is live and we feel like it's all polished and the facilitators help with making sure that looks great, then we will then roll out from that point a one-on-one coaching kind of pre-workshop, post-workshop type of assessment thing that you can do too. It's like a coaching program where you coach in advance and then you assess in the end. So we'll roll that out as well. If you decide to come through this and you're successful in earning the certification, you will then get the Art of Active Listening certified badge that you add to your e-signature. You can put it on a website if you have that. You can put it on your materials that you have. We will make sure that we provide you some internal buy-in materials or some external ones if you're a coach or consultant and trainer and you're wanting to be able to say, like, how do we promote this? How do I promote this in a way that's effective, that people understand so that they will want to do the workshops? And then we'll also give you a video example of kind of what to expect, what the workshop should look like. So we are not going to, this is not a one and done. So if you're the kind of person who likes the certification, that's like, I'm going to come for 2 days and that's it, I don't want to talk to you again, you might as well end the program now. Because that's not how we roll at Employee Fanatics. Our goal is to stay connected with you, create deeper connections, have you and help you create deeper connections inside your organization and with your clients. And then again, have this be kind of like a larger impact, a larger effect worldwide. You will also get wholesale pricing on bulk print orders of the Art of Active Listening book. We will also have a workbook that will be able to do private communities on LinkedIn, a coach's corner that will be an online portal for you to access all kinds of cool things. So there's a lot available to you through the program. To be honest, I'm thinking about what I have paid with all the other facilitator programs or certifications I've had, and the value here is much bigger because I didn't have that support and that mechanism. I couldn't go in and say, what are some other ideas of ways I can sell this? Or what are some other ideas of ways I can, and then have people actually respond like that in a way that feels very much like a partnership. So my question to you is, will you be my next success story? The founding facilitators right now are being corralled. Again, we'll have that first cohort at the very end of September. I am very excited about how this entire group is shaping up right now. Hugely, like all different walks of life, big hearts, caring people who also know that results are important. This is not some squishy thing. While on one end, people will feel valued and heard by you, results come from it. So things like loyalty, higher sales, bigger wallet share. When we're looking at retention, when we're looking at just greater connections, less conflict, when we're looking at ease of change inside of organizations. If we learn how to listen, then we are able to get to the outcomes we're looking for. So will you be that next success story? Are you wanting to be a catalyst for change at work that brings people into the circle, that includes more people, makes them feel like their voices matter, makes them feel like they have their power back? Are you one of those people? If you are, go ahead and just visit this link. It's a Calendly link that will allow you to schedule a 30-minute conversation. And for those who don't get to watch the video and you're listening, we will make sure to put this in all the notes of all the places that we're posting this. But it is a calendly.com link with my Employee Fanatics and a 30-minute kind of spot for you to get, so you can chat with me and my business development manager. We can figure out if you'd be the right fit, and if so, we can help you move along the journey. I have to tell you, I am just so thrilled to know that, number one, if you're listening now, that you're taking the time. If you listened all the way to the end, I know that you might be oscillating. You may be thinking, I don't know, one more thing. Do I really want to do it? But at the same time, all of us have this desire to have a legacy that lives outside of us, one that's much bigger than what our mind can even comprehend. And I can tell you that this is going to be that for many of us. And I can't wait to hear from all the people from around the world about the impact this is going to have on people at work and outside of work. So hopefully that person is you. Thanks so much for joining as well. And I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart that if you can learn how to listen and teach others how to do the same, your footprint will allow you to make sure that other people at work will feel heard, valued, and finally understood. Take care. Be well.